Katrina, and welcome back to another episode of Everglades National Zoo. This is the third episode, and today we are building a habitat for some giant otters. We recently got these otters in the Aquatic pack, which I was super excited about because otters are one of my favorite animals. I think they're adorable, and it's really fun and entertaining to watch them swim around, so I was super excited to add them in our zoo. And I think they fit perfectly into this new section of the zoo that we're starting. It's a swamp area and it's got a lot more trees and it's a lot darker and more eerie, and it's called Willow Grove, so obviously there's going to be a lot of willow trees, but there's also a lot of other foliage, including foliage that's in the water, and it just helps it give it that eerie swamp effect that I was going for. And so here I just add a bunch of rocks. I always add a bunch of rocks, and they're good to use as natural borders if you don't always want to use the in-game barriers. And I add the path on top of that, and in this section we're going to have a good mixture of the path on top of rocks as well as the raised path over the water like we had with the alligators. And at first I made the water section a bit bigger than I would have liked because I got pretty far with it being that wide, but then when I got to a certain point when I actually had the otters in, it was kind of hard to see the otters from the path because it was a little far away. So I brought everything in, and I made the water area more narrow, which helped a lot so you could actually see the otters. And then I built these little houses for the otters out of what I would think would be a bunch of recycled and reclaimed wood that they collected from around the area and kind of just put together, not very neatly, but just functional wise, into these little cute houses for the otters. And I put them up on these rocks, and I make like some stairs out of the rocks, and the otters like to lay in them, and it's really adorable, and I like how they turned out. And I use a lot of the rocks that didn't come in the aquatic pack, the more natural rocks instead of the fake rocks. And I love the fake rocks that came with the aquatic pack, but I'm going for more natural in this zoo, and I would love to find a place to implement the fake rock somewhere, so I'm still going to try to do that. And I'm thinking maybe with the pygmy hippo, I kind of have an idea for that, because I really do love those rocks, and I'm so glad we got them in the aquatic pack. But for now, I've definitely been using the more natural tropical rocks. And throughout the time when I was building this, I had the otters escaping all the time. At first, they were actually escaping because they could climb the rocks and get out of the habitat. But then, once I fixed all that, there was no escape points showing on their traversable area, and they still escaped all the time. So I think this is just a bug that a lot of other people have been experiencing too, and I think it even might have been fixed by now, but they were escaping like every 5 minutes and it was getting kind of annoying. But at least I think it's fixed now. I'm not for sure, but hopefully it is. And then I've struggled a lot with the foliage actually in this episode because like I said before, I was going for the swamp feeling, and it felt more like a jungle at first because a lot of the in-game foliage is I used is more for a jungle and less for a swamp, and it just didn't seem very eerie. And then I ended up making a custom tree with a lot of Spanish moss because there's a lot of Spanish moss in the Everglades that hangs down from trees and gives it that kind of swamp feel. And so I made a custom tree with a bunch of Spanish moss, and it's 24 pieces, which isn't a lot, but if you put a lot of them in, the pieces can add up. So I didn't add too many in, but added enough to kind of get the overall feeling. And then once I added a lot more foliage in the water too, and then some trees coming out of the water, and then I added some mist effects as well, it really did help give it that eerie feeling, and I really like how it turned out in the end. And I'm really excited to keep working on this area because it's really fun building a swamp. It's something different, and I've really been enjoying it. And I thought I would just mention a few things about the giant otter that I found interesting. They can get up to 6 feet long, which makes them the longest member of the weasel family and also the world's largest otter. They live in rivers and creeks of South America, and they are endangered due to being hunted for their skin and habitat destruction of their rivers and creeks. And they have a lot of things that help them to be good swimmers, including strong tails and long bodies. They also have webbed feet, water repellent fur, and their nostrils and ears can actually close in the water. So all this makes them really good swimmers, and they live in large family groups. And I just like researching facts about the animals beforehand because I'm a huge animal lover and I really like to learn more about the animals. And so hopefully you do too. And I don't have a lot more to say in this video. This was kind of a shorter one. And so if you would like to, feel free to follow me on Instagram if you want to see updates or sneak peeks beforehand. There'll be a link in the description. And if you've been enjoying my videos and you want to see more, feel free to subscribe and leave a thumbs up on the video. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the speed build. I'll see you next time.